Distinguished colleagues, esteemed partners, and dear friends, welcome to today's official presentation by the GemSpace Group of Companies, convened on Monday, June 8th of 2026. As part of our established tradition, these weekly sessions serve as a platform to reflect on the key achievements of the past week while outlining our strategic priorities and forward-looking initiatives across both the near and long-term horizon. Please note that this presentation is delivered in English as a translated version on behalf of the original speakers. Mr. Kachanovsky, member of the Board of Directors, speaking. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues and valued partners. It is our honor to present to you today the GemSpace Group of Companies and its expanding digital ecosystem, comprised of two strategic pillars that embody our vision for the future. These directions are underpinned by bold ambition, accelerated innovation, and a clearly defined roadmap designed to drive sustainable growth, technological leadership, and global impact. So, without further delay, let's begin today with the presentation of our business. Today we will be discussing our B2C product, GemSpace Global Application, which just celebrated its 10th anniversary on May 27th. Over these 10 years, our project has made tremendous progress. But more importantly, it's evident in our performance metrics, particularly in the steady increase in application installations, which have now surpassed 51 million users. Of course, the value of our application has also been steadily rising as more innovative features are being implemented and the user base continues to grow. Our project has essentially split into two parts. It's fundamentally one application, but we are developing our main application as a global messenger. Our primary strategic goal is to sell this to a global buyer. At the same time, we've recognized a demand for national and regional messengers. We firmly believe our application is ideally suited for most countries and states that cannot afford the decade-long or multi-billion-dollar effort required to develop their own communication application from the ground up. Therefore, we offer them GemSpace White Label Solution, with their own name, colors, logos, languages, and other customization options. We are already in negotiations regarding this with several entities. This approach represents a move away from dependence. As you know, given the current global situation, the demand for secure infrastructure has sharply increased because many companies no longer want to rely on firms they don't control or on client data whose storage locations are unknown. In this context, we provide an excellent alternative, allowing countries and companies to invest primarily in control and security. It's clear that our application, GemSpace, is continuously evolving. We recently launched webinars, which I will discuss in more detail at the end. This is a very exciting step. We are also preparing a feature you've always requested, stories, to appear in our application and be available to you as user stories. However, this is not exactly what you might expect. In reality, any messenger or application is constantly growing and evolving, and whoever acquires it will undoubtedly continue its development. Thus, ongoing functional improvements are just our routine work. But what we are doing this year marks a complete revolution in our history. I wanted to highlight this because what we accomplished in the first 10 years, it allowed us to build a strong foundation. It allowed us to create both the application itself and our development team, our team of marketing specialists. And now this year we have moved on to a sharp increase in the attractiveness and value of the application through the introduction of monetization tools and artificial intelligence. This is a radical turn in our development in the very functionality of the ecosystem, which did not exist before. If we even look at the details, first and foremost, a premium account, then advertising, paid subscriptions, mini app platform, PayGem digital wallet. But the point is that we are doing it, and we are doing it on a certain schedule. Instead of highlighting all of these features, I wanted to focus on just one today, GemSpace Premium Account, the higher tier account behind which we will saturate with very attractive and necessary functionality, including artificial intelligence functionality and others. This subscription for the user will cost about $100 per year. Multiply this $100 yourself by 1 million subscribers. I think that you calculated this amount in your head quite quickly. And now multiply 10 million subscribers by a number. That's the major evolution. And I've only depicted the premium account aspect, just one of the elements of our monetization. This is the evolution we are talking about. Monetization, financial flows. This is exactly what potential acquiring entities seek today. Because when they acquire an application, they want to know how the investment they will make in the purchase of this application will recoup in return. The implementation of artificial intelligence is what everyone is talking about and what many want today. Even if some are not eager for artificial intelligence to be taking over our daily lives, there is a simple yet highly profound example. When the internet first appeared, many pretended they didn't want to know what it was. When smartphones replaced button phones, many users kept using button phones for years out of habit. Today, everyone has switched to smartphones. So, some might pretend they don't notice, understand, or know these AI tools. But, in reality, you don't truly know them until you're given easy, simple, and clear access, and shown how to use them effectively and beneficially. That's exactly our goal as we introduce these tools in our application. The first implementation we are creating is an AI-based tool to cover the World Cup starting June 11th. This tool will target fans, millions and millions worldwide. By September, our users will have access to both Chinese and American AI models through a single interface of GemSpace. By November, we'll introduce user-friendly voice agents, which are complex to develop, so the date is tentative. These agents will enable features like answering machines and intelligent calls. I won't go into details now, but the important thing is we're doing it. We know there's demand, and we will definitely deliver. Why are we doing this? Naturally, we verify everything as we go. The introduction of AI tools can multiply the capitalization of digital platforms by boosting monetization, user engagement, and transforming the application from a communication tool, as GemSpace currently is, into a full digital ecosystem. Our current valuation is already very high, over $2 billion. We are confident that after implementing monetization and AI tools, the valuation will multiply several times. These are the prospects for this year. This is what we're doing. That's why I say this is a major turning point in our history and the product's evolution. And of course, we are doing everything possible to enable investors to participate. It is still possible to join our project today. There is an opportunity to purchase GemSpace shares. Since the application is unique and the opportunities it offers are unique, it requires perseverance and determination from those who want to get involved. But such options certainly exist. Today, we look to the near future with great confidence because the three pillars supporting our application are our 10 years of continuous development experience. We also remember that alongside us, or even after us, huge giants began developing their own applications. It is also our professional and highly capable team that we have built over these 10 years. And of course, our support team, partners, and ambassadors, as we call them, who believe in the project and help its growth. This is our greatest strength, which allowed us to survive the toughest times for startups and grow to the level we are at today. Therefore, today we represent a project that people can love, dislike, idolize, as many of you do, or even laugh at. But there is one thing you cannot do: ignore it. You cannot ignore the resilience it took to travel the long path we have, outlasting our competitors. You cannot ignore the persistence in achieving our goals because we don't just talk and make promises. We show real results. We have a strategy and tactics to become one of the leading global applications and to achieve a high valuation from global investors and acquisition. And we always reach our goals. So today, we are not looking for mere spectators. We are looking for those who want to make history. To conclude my presentation, I want to add a brief disclaimer, which is mandatory when discussing investment projects. This presentation is for informational purposes only, is not an investment offer, and does not guarantee future results. All forecasts and estimates are preliminary and may change. On this note, thank you for your attention thus far as I am. Now pleased to hand over the floor to Valerie Ostrikoff, the member of the Board of Directors who will continue our conference today. Valerie Ostrikoff, member of the Board of Directors speaking. Greetings to everyone joining us today, and I'll start with a brief intro to some of the several topics that I wish to cover. Specifically, I want to talk about the changes in the world that will drive the growth of both our products and platforms, specifically GemSpace and GemTeam platforms. It's very important to look ahead. Even though some might say there are so many changes in the world that planning is impossible. But the reality is twofold. On one hand, it's very difficult to make precise forecasts. However, the trends developing globally were actually described long ago. For example, in the early 2000s, there was a book called Business in Funk Style by two professors from the Stockholm School of Economics. They foresaw many aspects and wrote about them, which are already unfolding today. 25 years later, their predictions were quite accurate. So today, we'll talk about trends that will support our business growth. First, what's happening, and why the platform we've spent about 10 years developing will be in demand in various parts of the world is because the world is undergoing a large-scale division into closed techno-economic zones. When the world divides into zones, each wants to create its own technological environment controlled by itself. We can all see how quickly this is happening now. Even countries that seem to be under the influence of others, like the United States and the Gulf countries, have urgently raised the issue that they need to have their own controlled sovereign platforms. But they don't have 10 years to build it. We have insider knowledge that one of the main Gulf countries on the Arabian Peninsula spent 5 years creating its own national platform with its own national messenger. And they had no funding problems. Some say this isn't rocket science, but you need to be able to organize teams of engineers and do painstaking daily, even hourly, work. In general, the large-scale division of the world into closed techno-economic zones creates demand for platforms that must be controlled to fully manage the situation within the country internally. Secondly, there is now a full decentralization of the economy and growth of the platform economy. We've spoken about this often. Everyone sees and understands it. The favorite phrase is people are the new oil, and the information stored on platforms is something very new, or rather, something extremely valuable. Even artificial intelligence, specifically large language models, now generate logical responses. Many people engage in discussions with them. These models have digitized all this data multiple times, loaded it, analyzed it, and are continuously learning from new data. In short, they are improving. In any case, this leads to decentralization, with platforms playing the role of the centralizing element. These platforms facilitate the exchange of information and crucial data, as well as financial flows. Managing all this is quite complex. Then came generative AI, artificial intelligence that, due to massive computing power and significant energy consumption, analyzes everything and helps conduct business on such platforms. This is extremely important. It's not just about business, but also about organizing spaces, data exchange, and information sharing. The rise of generative AI has led to what is called hyper-personalization. What does this mean? It essentially adapts to each individual, taking their unique characteristics into account, using so-called data weighting. On the other side, it understands who the person sending these requests is. But in any case, with the advent of artificial intelligence on platforms, this hyper-personalization emerges, leading us to adapt to the broader population. Another very important point, nowadays, people worldwide are moving toward personal business. The remote economy is growing, and the monetization of human knowledge is underway. Some people share how to grow orchids, which is very interesting. They gain views, attract advertising budgets, and so on. In other words, people turn their hobbies into income. Some teach mathematics. There is currently very high demand. In other words, on these platforms, a person can earn money without working in a ministry or government agency. Of course, factories will remain. Everything will remain. This is simply a new sector of a rapidly growing economy. Importantly, we can't judge this rapidly changing society and everything related to the economy as simply good or bad. This, as they say, is a given. Something we perceive through our senses. A philosophical concept. And now, the new digital generation is arriving. Regardless, the economy adapts to these new generations through digital platforms and the possibilities of implementing these platforms. What am I getting at? That we build our platforms specifically for commerce and development aimed at the new generations. Moreover, the accelerated technological development of GemSpace and GemTeam connected with AI implementation. All this means that we're not exactly at the forefront of everything happening. Trillion-dollar companies lead the way, but we follow them, using their innovations and integrating them ourselves. This is how we grow and earn. All these aspects together depict that we chose the right niche, and our value is increasing. Look, a rollback is starting now in the US stock market. Intel lost 10%, AMD about 12.5%, and so on. This stock bubble related to AI companies and others will begin to deflate because it doesn't generate enough profit and requires heavy investments. That is why, with our sustainable development, we are steadily growing our business valuation. We are working on valuing our intellectual property and our team's worth. We do all this so that the products and platforms we've built continue to develop and increase in value day by day. We understand the niche. The economic niche where money and people flow, and people are money. These are identical concepts in economics. So that we occupy our positions, reclaim our market share, and move forward successfully. We become stronger by adapting to changing conditions. We've chosen our priorities, sometimes reassess them, but we eliminate the unnecessary and understand what is most valuable for the development of our project and product. By analyzing and wisely managing resources, we overcome obstacles and move forward. The key is that our product grows, becomes more valuable, more modern, and we overcome all these crises. On this note, I am pleased to hand over the floor back to Mr. Kachanovsky, the member of the board of directors who will finalize our conference today. Alexander Kachanovsky, member of the board of directors speaking. Dear colleagues and friends, let's finalize our conference today with some traditional weekly news and latest promotions. First, let's talk about the current number of installations of our GemSpace application. 51,127,000 users and counting across the globe. A few words about webinars, the new format already available in GemSpace. Let me explain briefly what they are. Webinars are special rooms, not for your usual conferences or meetings. Voice meetings with a group of colleagues or partners where everyone can speak. A webinar is a room where there is a teacher, lecturer, or mentor, one or several, who act as presenters. The other users are simply attendees and listeners. They can only watch and listen, paying attention to the information displayed on their screen, either in text or audio form. Webinars are designed specifically for informational meetings and delivering information to a large number of people. This is our first step toward creating our own large conference room, which we are building. We are in the process of adding a chat feature so that listeners can communicate via chat with each other and with the webinar hosts. But for now, in this initial version where you can only listen and receive information, you can already use webinars today. On Android and iOS operating systems, you need to go to Calls, where you will find a button labeled Create a Call via link. Then, at the bottom, there is a webinar toggle switch where you can create a webinar link and send it to the users you want to invite. On the web version, this is done via the General Plus sign, where you usually create groups or channels or a new space, and there is also an option for a call via link. Again, when you choose a call by link, you will see a webinar toggle switch that lets you create and send a link to hold the webinar. So please enjoy using. We are testing it as well. This will be the foundation for our upcoming conferences, which we will hold there soon. In other news, GCC Regional Media continues to cover GemSoft and its sovereign ecosystem. Gem Team. Please find the latest article by Gulf Times discussing cybersecurity in the region. It shows that work in this region is ongoing and continuing. Be sure to give it a read. Before we move on to the other topics today, please be advised of the conference schedule. Kindly submit any questions you may have to our support service in order to receive detailed answers in advance. We look forward to your questions the following week. Regarding promotions, we're pleased to remind you that we recently celebrated our 10th anniversary, and the anniversary compliments are still ongoing. In this regard, the bonus package of shares is still valid until June 15th for you to enjoy. Moreover, the holiday discount promotion offering a 10% discount valid for another week until June 15th. Additionally, the 1+1=4 promotion. This is a very important promotion that is valid when buying 2 packages of the same kind containing Class A shares. The buyer receives a complimentary package containing double the amount of Class A shares. Accordingly, the sponsor also benefits from this, receiving an advantage equivalent to 50% for investors with an investment status and slightly less for other statuses, but still a significant number of shares. This promotion will be valid until June 15th. Please note, this is not cashback. It is an actual discount, meaning that each package of shares in the Business Center will cost exactly 10% less during this short period until June 15th. And last but not least, please welcome the Career Promotion for a limited time. This promotion has been active since May 1st and applies to everyone who made certain purchases from that date. The board of directors and the administrative team is allocating 50,000 Class C shares from their pool. These shares will never be sold again, but these shares come with benefits, including dividends from license sales. However, partners who reach career milestones, starting from Silver Master, will be credited with these Class C shares, which no longer sold but can be earned. Additionally, there is a set time frame to complete each career level. If you achieve it on time, you receive an extra 20% bonus shares from that package as a speed reward. You can see these bonuses listed here. So, even though these shares can't be purchased, by progressing through these career qualifications, Class C shares can be earned, but only for a short time. With these important updates, we extend our sincere appreciation for your time and engagement today. We are operating in a period defined by significant opportunity, and our teams are working diligently and with clear purpose to translate these opportunities into tangible outcomes. We remain steadfast in our commitment to advancing our shared success, particularly as we continue to see growing recognition and measurable progress across our B2C, B2B, and B2G solutions. We look forward to reconvening with you next time.